Welcome to Averages. Technically, I would like to call this video Central Tendencies because too often we confuse average to indicate the mean. There are technically 4 averages you can calculate in mathematics: the mean, median, mode, and mid-range. At least those are the 4 main ones we'll use in this class. The mean, you add your numbers up, divide by how many you've got. If I had the set of numbers 0, 2, 5, 8, 1, 0, 12, I would add those up. That's 7 numbers I'm adding, so I'd divide by 7. And I would say my mean was 4. If I wanted the median, I would have to put those numbers in order from littlest to biggest. Now if I count my way to the center, I see that 2 is the middle guy, and that would be my median. If I wanted to calculate the mode, I'd want to find the number that was repeated the most often times. Well, I have more zeros than anything else, so my mode would be 0. The mid-range. Now that's kind of an interesting guy. If you take the littlest plus the biggest and divide by 2, in this case that would be 0 plus 12 divided by 2, we get a mid-range. However, sometimes you get some really ugly numbers, and you get a lot of them, and it takes a lot of time to do all those, and we can do it on our calculator. These are the main buttons you're going to need on your calculator: the stat button, the number pad, the enter key. You'll have to turn your calculator on, of course. You need to know where the clear is and where the second is, and the up, down, left, and right arrows. If we clicked on the stat button, that would bring us to a set of menus, and we can either have the edit menu, that's the one we need first, and since we're already highlighting edit, all we have to do is enter or press 1 to go into the edit screen. Now, if you're using someone else's calculator, or if you've had a math class before, you might have some numbers in your lists. If you do, just arrow up to the list title, press that clear button, and arrow back down. And that will clear out your list. Do not press the delete button. That will delete your list, and now your lists will go from L2 to L6, and you just won't have an L1 until we reset your calculator. Let's enter the numbers and some numbers in our list. So I would press a 0 and enter, and another 0 and enter. Once these are in our list, then we can make our calculator calculate on that list. Again, we press the stat button. Now this time we arrow over so that we're highlighting the calculate, and bam, the menu changes. We want the first choice, 1 var stats. So we enter on the 1 or press a 1. And now we go into a screen and it asks us, what list did you put your data in? If I wanted to enter L1, I would press the second key and the number 1. That would access L1. The frequency list. We could have a frequency list. If I had put in my calculator 0, 1, 2, 5, 8, 12, and then in list 2 I put 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Now I have a frequency list. L2 tells me how frequently 0 occurred and how frequently 1 occurred, and 2 and 5 and 8, etc. We don't have a frequency list because if I wanted 0 listed more than once, I typed it in more than once. So leave your frequency list blank. Do not put anything in there. Arrow down to calculate and enter. Whoosh! Lots of information. It tells me x bar equals 1. X bar is what we call the sample mean. It is going to take the mean of whatever data you put in your calculator. So you can just think of that as being the mean. That funny looking E fellow, that's a capital sigma. Sigma x, that means sum of all the elements in your list. Remember when we added those numbers up, we got 28, and sure enough, sigma x is 28. This sigma x squared, we aren't going to need that because we're going to let our calculator do our calculations. But if you wanted to add 0 squared plus 0 squared plus 1 squared plus 2 squared plus 5 squared plus 8 squared plus 12 squared, that would be the sum of each element in your list squared. In math, we call that a sum of squares. It's an important calculation in statistics, but we're more interested in the big picture than the nitty-gritty grunt work. Sx and lowercase sigma x, we'll get to those in the next video on dispersion. Then n is 7. That says the number of entries in our list, we have 7 numbers entered. And notice there's a little arrow key pointing down. That says if you arrow on down, you can get some more stuff. You can find the minimum value in the list. We'll talk about Q1 in the dispersion video. We can get our median, med x, or just med. Q3, again, that'll be in the dispersion video. And the maximum number in the list. Oh, shoot. Littlest guy in list, the median, which should be the middle guy in the list, and the largest guy in the list. Okay, we found our median and our mean by way of the calculator. That darn calculator didn't tell me my mode or my mid-range. Mid-range isn't too hard to find from here, since my calculator did give me the minimum and the max. If I can just remember that the mid-range is the min plus the max, divide by 2. My calculator's done a lot of work for me finding those two. And that's as good as my calculator's going to do as far as helping me with mid-range. The mode. Now let's imagine you had a set of 200 numbers and they all had 4 digits in them, in the thousands, 10,000s. That'd be really ugly to sort through and figure out which number is occurring the most often. That's where we want to use that sort key. Remember the calculator, when we hit that stat button, and we're in the edit menu, choice 2 was sort A, that's sort in ascending order. Choice 3 is sort D. It doesn't really matter which way you sort. I usually sort in ascending order. So if I press 2, my calculator window says sort A and parenthesis, and it wants me to tell it what list to sort on. Think of that as saying, what list, what list, what list? And so we have to type second 1 in order to access L1. If your list was in L3, you would type second 3 and enter. And my calculator then says done. That means if I type the stat button and I choose choice 1 for edit, now when I look in my lists, my list is in order. Now if I had more than just those 7 numbers, I would have to scroll down, arrow down to see further down in my list. But at least my numbers are in order and I can see which ones are repeated and which ones happen the most times. And so now it's pretty easy for me to spot the most frequently repeated one is 0, and that tells me my mode is 0. And that's as close as my calculator is going to get in calculating mode. And that completes central tendency. Good day.